How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Today I'm going to give you a list of the top 10 best Pokemon ROM hacks to play in 2024 that some of you may not know about. This is a second list I'm making to give you a little bit more unknown games that are less known to most players. So let's get started with number 1. First up is Pokemon Emerald Genesis. This is a remodeled version of Pokemon Emerald that specifically wants to upgrade the graphics as well as the engine itself of the game. So if you're not really into games where it's basically an existing Pokemon game like Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, Leaf Green, whatever, where it's basically been redone, like the graphics have been redone, it's introduced a few new Pokemon, stuff like that, then it may not be the game for you. But if you do try actually Pokemon Emerald Genesis, what you will end up seeing though is a bunch of different features. Like I said, there are new Pokemon from Generation 4 until 7 included. You've got new regional variants, one specific one, 30 new Pokemon moves, as well as custom moves as well. Included with it is also new abilities, as well as a fully functional day and night system. The game does also come with a Dex Nav, the feature you guys may remember from specifically Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. Well, that's in here too, and all the Pokeballs you can think of from basically Gen 7 until Gen 4 will also be included. The game is essentially perfect in terms of a remake of the original Emerald. It tries to add things, change things, improve things, and make the graphics a little bit more appealing if you haven't already tried it. So definitely check out Pokemon Genesis Emerald or Emerald Genesis, whichever way you want to say it. It's definitely worth it. There are unique specific events, special legendary events, several custom songs, as well as multiple Pokemon to capture, including a Wonder Trading feature. So Emerald Genesis is definitely on this list. Next up is Pokemon Cosmo. Now, some of you may not know this, but Pokemon Cosmo is being made by Wesley FG. And if you do not know who that is, this is the person behind Pokemon Light Platinum. Now, Light Platinum is one of the highest and best regarded games of all time. And with this project, with Pokemon Cosmo, well, guess what? Wesley is trying to create a new game, something like on the side, a new project. The game has, first of all, one of the best looking graphics I've ever seen. It's kind of like a mix between Gen 4 and Gen 5 graphics, where it doesn't really feel like either of them and kind of like its own thing. And I think that's the most beautiful part about this game. It has full new graphics, full new Pokemon, 150 new Pokemon to be precise, and also uses like the little custom sprite icons, which I freaking love, as well as a new region, that being the Cosmo region. The game does also have a level cap, which means every time before a badge, you will be level capped to the level of the gym itself. There is also loads of other stuff, like Gen 6 features will also be in this game, and in general, it's a game that tries to just do some interesting stuff. I think it's definitely worth checking out. It is a ROM hack, and it is just an interesting one. It's a small one, not too crazy. It's based on Fire Red specifically, so you're not going to have too much trouble running it. And like I said, the graphics are just honestly enough to warrant a playthrough. Next, we have Pokemon Dark Rising Order Destroyed. This is a continuation of a classic ROM hack franchise. Yes, franchise. If you guys have never played Pokemon Dark Rising, there are many Dark Rising games. You've got Pokemon Dark Rising 2, Origins World Collide, and of course the one we're talking about today, Order Destroyed. This game is essentially the next version of the Dark Rising series. It continues after version 1 and 2, and it tries to basically do way better things, improve, and add a bunch of new stuff. For example, they finally included the physical and special split. There are also new moves, new items, fairy type of course is included, and there's a survival style kind of mechanic to the game, making it a little bit harder to actually enjoy. So this is a little bit of a difficulty hack, not 100%. It does also have a unique story that you get to enjoy, so it's not necessarily all about the difficulty, but the game is not easy necessarily either. It does come with some level of difficulty as you're trying to do things in it. I would definitely recommend Dark Rising, just the whole series to be honest. Order Destroyed is just one of them, but I'd recommend the entire franchise of Dark Rising because it is a little franchise on its own. It's really funny to say, but it genuinely is. It includes a lot of interesting things that I think are worthwhile checking out. Next up, we have a strange game that most of you probably do not know, and that's Pokemon Achilla 1 and Pokemon Achilla 2. Now, what are these games? Well, they're basically ROM hacks made by Japanese users. This is actually a set of Japanese ROM hacks. I would say that they are, well, a little bit hard to play because of the fact that they don't have English versions. You're going to struggle to find them, and I don't really know if anybody's gone through and actually made them, but the games themselves look really cool. They have a strange story that, well, you're going to have a hard time understanding understanding unless you can translate it or if you speak Japanese, but I think it's worthwhile checking out anyways because it's a unique game. It's from a different culture. It's trying to do something differently than most of our games do, and even the art style, like the actual Gen 3 graphics they use, look different than the ones that we're used to. Like, they don't actually look too similar to the ones you see in your regular ROM hacks that you play every day, and that's kind of what makes this game an interesting one. I think, again, you should check out Pokemon Achilla. It's just a, again, unique game. It's different. It's its own thing. It feels different. It looks different, and honestly, it's a worthwhile try. Definitely check it out. Give it a shot. Again, it is a weird game. It is different. It's not exactly what you might be expecting, but I think it's worthwhile checking out anyways because it's just a unique experience. Next, we have Pokemon Aquamarine version. Jeez. Now, here's the thing about Aquamarine. See, this game is essentially not one game, but multiple games. So you have not just one, but you have essentially almost 7 games in here. You got Pokemon Aquamarine, Pokemon Opal, Topaz, Garnet, Amethyst, Onyx, Turquoise, Quartz, and Zircon. All of these are basically like just multiple games at once. Now, what are the differences in the versions between the different games? Well, mostly some are aesthetic differences. So they would kind of recommend you just to choose what version you want based on the evolution that are related to it. The actual story of the game is kind of a weird one. A player character is having a strange dream. A ghostly figure will actually appear in the Ilex forest, claiming that the player has now turned into a Mew. So yes, you are playing as a Mew, and basically if you choose to be the guy character, you'll be the regular pink Mew, but if you choose to play as a female character, you will be a shiny Mew, which is kind of a neat little detail. The game actually features a new region based off of South America, so shout out to all the South Americans out there. Definitely cool. You guys get to have a sick, region based off of your, part of the world. You also have new sub-regions based off of Hawaii, Galapagos, and the Antarctica in this game. You have a sci-fi story which has diverging plot lines depending on which gender you choose to play as in the game, and there's also 411 species of Pokemon to obtain that you can actually get, and there's no necessity for trading. Overall, the game has an obscene amount of actual things in it. Like, there is so much in this game to do, see, enjoy, and that's kind of the fun part. And like I said, there are multiple different versions, so you get to enjoy many different versions of this game in multiple replays. Like, you don't have to play just one. So Aquamarine is definitely one worth to try because it's almost like 7 different versions in one game. Like, it's crazy, but definitely give it a try. Aquamarine is definitely worth it. Now, this next game is a more recent one, to say the least, but it is also the funniest one, and it's called Pokemon Castform Killed My Father. Now, this is a Spanish game, which, again, it might cause some issues with playthroughs, but I still think it is funny. Now, why do I think it's funny? Well, because the name of the game is quite freaking hilarious. Like, the fact that it's called Castform Killed My Father is funny. The second thing is that the game includes, like, weird, like, goofy adult jokes. It is a bit of a meme game, to say the least. There is some 18+ stuff in there, so keep that in mind. There are apparently 6 complete regions in there. Pokemon from the 1st until the 9th generation, so yes, some Scarlet and Violet too. Also including Pokemon from the latest DLC, so even that's there. You got Mega Evolutions, you got Z-Moves, you got Dynamax, plus raids. Even Terrestrialization is in the game. They also include a reworked battle system in case you enjoyed that. And of course, a bunch of Castforms. Like, the game is of course all about Castform because Castform is clearly evil. And that's what the game is all about. One day, several years ago, your dad, the champion of Kanto, well, basically investigated some strange criminal activities, and in the process, well, he kind of came upon the ultimate weapon, Castform. And yeah, that's where the story begins. The game is crazy. It has 6 regions, which is in its own nuts. Okay, that's so much to do. That's so much to explore on its own. So I would just say, please give it a look. Please give it a try. It is going to be worth it. Next, we have Pokemon Azure Platinum. Now, this game is a little bit different. The game is both in English and in French, so don't be worried. You can actually play this one in English if you do struggle with that. But keep in mind, here's the fun part about this game. It is a hack of Diamond and Pearl. That's the craziest part, or I guess Platinum if you want to put it like that. But what have they done in this game? Well, it is something interesting. They've tried to change the story and stuff that happens along the way. So, for example, new characters and story arcs that will be present in this are from the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl anime, which will be added. You'll meet new characters of Diamond and Pearl's anime. You'll participate in a new tournament inspired by the anime. You'll also meet key characters of the franchise that didn't appear in the original game. You'll also see post-game that's largely now been expanded. You'll be able to, participate in the Operation Azure in the Sinoan equivalent of the Delta episode, basically, and you'll also be able to go and battle Arceus as well. So there's a lot of interesting stuff with this game. It is a different take at Diamond and Pearl. So if you want to have a different experience with it, this will give you that. And if you love the anime, guess what? You'll see a lot of characters that are familiar to you in this experience. Now, this game next is Pokemon Red X, or Redux. I don't really know how you want to put it, but basically, this is a amazing looking game. Now, what is it all about? Well, it's a reimagining of Pokemon Red version using the Gen 2 Pokemon art style. Basically, the way to describe it is to look at how Link's Awakening DX was a Game Boy Color improvement of Link's Awakening. And what do you actually have when you play this game? Well, obviously, the first thing is that you're going to be exploring all the Kanto region while having the visual art style of Generation 2's Johto. So that's going to be one of the first things. The second one is you're going to actually get to experience new events and even characters during this journey. You'll notice that certain characters and events will be different than what you remember from regular Red and Blue. But again, it doesn't end there. Kanto's also received a facelift, so you'll be seeing a lot of places that have just improved textures, improved graphics, and stuff like that. There's also an expanded regional Pokedex, including even Pokemon from Generation 8, which is kind of nuts, and even some fake Pokemon, like the stuff from the Gold and Silver beta versions, which never came to be. There's also so much more stuff going on here. In general, the general plot of the game should be the Pokemon Red version plot, but there is still some other stuff in it. The game is also 95% complete, which means it is playable, and only some post-game side quest stuff needs to be finished. So definitely give this a try. It is a unique game, and it's a different kind of game. It's something that I don't really see a lot of these, and I love it when people go out and create some really interesting new ROM hacks. Next, we have the Pit, or, well, basically a new roguelike style Pokemon ROM hack that's been inspired by Paper Mario's Pit of 100 Trials. Now, what is it all about? Well, basically, in this little ROM hack, you get just sent right into a map. You get to choose to play as one of many different Pokemon characters, and once you're set, once you're in the game, guess what? You're going to be going through a barrage of floors as you keep dropping down, battling characters, improving your team, and buying new items as you go. Keep in mind, this is a roguelike game. If you don't really know what a roguelike or a roguelite is, it's basically a game where, like, if you end up losing, or if you die, or if, you know, your whole team faints, you'll be reset to the beginning. And the goal is to try to get as far as possible while retaining some elements on the way back. So, for example, if you collect a lot of money, you can then use the money to make your next run easier by having better items or better Pokemon. Again, the game is really interesting. I recently played it on this channel, for this channel, so I would definitely recommend checking it out because, again, it's a unique game. It's different. It's trying, again, to make a different version of a roguelike because we already have Pokerogue, we have Pokemon Rogue Emerald and stuff like that. It's kind of fun to see people trying different versions of this, and also the game features, like, a lot of different characters you can play as, so it's funny to see all the different sprites. I think that's really a cool part. But in general, definitely worthwhile checking out. Finally, we have Pokemon Scorched Silver, and this game is molto bene. So first of all, this game is a little bit different. You travel back to the majestic lands of Johto through the perspective of a young boy or girl from Cherry Grove City. Now, while you're here, you're going to be actually taking place in a story that's set about 20 years after the events of Gold and Silver. Some of the stuff that you see here will be featuring old characters. You'll also see new storylines and also side quests and events that make the game different. In terms of features, it's built off of the Poke Emerald expansion that includes PSS, Fairy types, Gen 8 Pokemon, and even a Gen 7 move pool. You can also run indoors, which is always great. I love when I can do that. But the game also features characters that look a little bit different. Their art style kind of looks a little bit similar to Diamond and Pearl, but the actual world is essentially Johto, but with the Gen 3 graphics. So think about how Hoenn looks, but then apply that to Johto itself. It makes for a really kind of a unique experience when you play this. Like I said, though, there's a new original story, Mega Evolution are possible in the post-game, and you have some other stuff in the game that makes it just unique and interesting. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the last game on this list. If you guys enjoyed any of these, then feel free to join our Discord where I'll be trying to link all of these. You can always message me there if you're looking for a link. But that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.